Welcome back to Watching the Throne on the Late Night Chat Network, episode 27. All right, welcome back, everybody. Jay,
Hello.
Welcome back.
JT, and of course, we're joined once again by Christina, aka the Bear Trainer. There, how you doing?
I'm good. How are you guys?
Good. Welcome back. Thank you for joining us again. So, Christina, I think is going to be joining us throughout the remainder of season 3 here, guys. And Christina coming back with the stats. Your last episodes did very well, Christina. I gotta say, people, I don't know. I think the addition of you to the show, I think, did wonders for the numbers here on the channel. So thank you.
They need a female. You need a female voice.
That's right. No, it was a fun time, and we're happy you came back to join us. You know, we got them over on the network. There's some female voices there. I mean,
oh yeah, no, I mean for this show.
Of course,
yeah. We know what you mean. I know what you mean. We know what you mean. I think.
No, but yeah, thank you for joining us once again. It was a lot of fun, and hopefully, like I said, you'll continue the journey throughout these seasons with us. And
yeah, you know it.
Yeah, today we're on episode 27 of Watching the Throne, but we're on season 3, episode 7, The Bear and the Maiden Fair for Game of Thrones here. And this, I guess, overall thoughts to open up the show here on the episode. Christina, what did you think of this overall? Would you say?
Well, I like this episode, and I don't know with this. Okay, so my favorite thing in the entire world is love.
Okay.
And this episode is just like everyone is in love with somebody, minus like 2 people, like Tywin and Daenerys, but everybody is in love and is professing their love, and it's all about love, love, love. So
Yeah.
I like this episode.
Lots of love making, lots of
There's lots.
Yeah,
Jay, like, are you like, how do you feel about this episode? Because like I know you were like, thirsty for it the last time we talked, but like,
yeah, we'll have to see when as we go through.
Yeah,
but it was an interesting one.
That's what Jay watches the show for.
For what did you say?
The titties and the dragons. That's what Jay watches the show for.
Titties and the dragons.
You got a free shot at something to see this in the next 2 episodes here that I haven't seen in a while either. But we'll talk about when those come on. I mean, when it comes up.
So, what do you think overall, though? Did you like this one?
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff here to take in. There was a lot of stuff in this episode to take in, and I maybe not so much this one. Maybe yeah. They're both. I feel like the remainder of this season is going to be a lot of crap to take in, and my writing gets sloppier and sloppier through the episode because I'm trying to get quicker and quicker at writing shit down. So.
Well, don't forget the first episode that Christina, who we asked first to do this with us, chose was the last block of episodes of this season, 9 and 10, and she ended up joining us for some extra episodes along the way here. So stay tuned on that one, guys, because the end of this season are absolute banger episodes, and like I can't wait to get to those as well. Jay, I don't think you've jumped ahead at all. Have you just watched okay? So
I kept to the 2 because you said that there's a lot to take in. So, and I noticed with these 2 that we just did.
Yeah, so. I didn't want what happened in the next couple of episodes to affect what you kind of saw in these 2. So I actually just watched the 9th episode today. But again, I already kind of knew what we were in for. So I'm kind of prepping for next episodes already that we end up doing. But yeah, I really liked this one. There's actually a whole portion of I guess the end of this episode as to why the episode's name is this that I didn't even remember. So this was actually a lot of fun for me to revisit this time around because as I previously mentioned, guys, this is my first rewatch of this show. If this is one of your first times tuning into the show, Jay is actually new to this show. He's never seen Game of Thrones. And Christina is the super fan here today with us who's watched it a few times through, I would say, this show, right, at this point. So, yeah. There is some things that I don't recall. So when he got to that whole last portion with this bear situation, I was really jazzed up about that scene. I was just like, oh, this is awesome, right?
Yeah,
And
there was a lot of like different scenes in this episode. Like there was just again, it's another filler episode, but there's so much content
yes,
that there are things that like you will miss or if you're not paying attention. So I
yeah,
definitely had to watch this one a couple times.
yes.
So yeah.
Yeah, there was some juicy moments in this though, still. Like you said, like it wasn't like maybe like as like the last two episodes you came on for, big things happen in those episodes. Like I wouldn't say this compares to those, but there was some
No.
good scenes in this episode.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So yeah, it was a really good one. I think you came back just for the right time because I think even in comparison to the last two that me and Jay just discussed, those were kind of like very settled down even from previous episodes, like in terms of like it was just building up a lot of again, it's kind of like the slow build some episodes. And like you said, like just kind of like introduce new characters or establishing certain scenarios until they play out. Right. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, let's get into it here. So at the start of the episode, John and the wildlings are walking through a field. I guess now they're at the top of the mountains there after climbing the wall. And feel free to jump in whenever, guys, if I screw up on something here. About they say it's about a week still till arriving to Castle Black. They mentioned that they took the key. Well, John had mentioned he took the King's Road previously. Ygritte, is that her name? The wildling chick?
Egret, yeah.
Teaching him about his ways in this moment, and kind of, John kind of gets up in the who's the wildling? What's the wildling's name that cut the rope? I don't have his name. Does anybody have that? I can look it up.
Oral.
His name's Oral, really?
It's Oral.
Oral, okay.
But it's Orell, not like oral, like
okay. Orel.
Yeah, I figured it's like they just made it look old spelling. Yeah,
I figured. So Oral, somebody to kind of make note of because you see some more of him moving forward as well. So I'm glad I got the name there. So Oral, he kind of gets up in his face about cutting the rope during the wall climb, and this is kind of, he kind of says, you're never going to hold on to her. He obviously seems kind of jealous of this whole situation with him and Ygritte, and you get a whole nothing Jon Snow type moment. And he hears her saying this to him, and he kind of chimes in. He's like, "Oh, you're right. She's right. Blah, blah, blah." And he kind of doesn't like Jon. Like he doesn't like how he's infiltrated their group. He doesn't like, you know what I mean? Like there's more coming with their relationship, but I think at this point in time, you can tell already, like he's not a fan of Jon, and especially after this whole rope cutting situation, right? So Jon,
yeah,
that kind of.
I also thought it was really funny. Like, I don't know, maybe as a former girlfriend, current wife, I don't know, just think it's fun. Like she was such a girlfriend, like asking a million questions. Like, I don't know. It was just kind of, I don't know, funny.
Yeah.
Like, what do you need a drummer for? Like, what do they do? Like, what?
It's one of those type of relationships though that they're from two different worlds though. You know what I mean? Like it's like they both have a lot that they can learn from one another, but whether or not they'll actually see eye to eye on things is another story entirely, right? And like I think I think she is the one that kind of made the advance on him. Obviously, it seemed like she kind of lusted after him after meeting him initially. And like, I don't know. She seemed to,
no, it's true. 100%. Like she's calling the shots and like,
she threw herself at him. Definitely.
She did, definitely.
But then she lightened him up like right away. Like he was just like, and this we discussed this on the episode when you were on just before this, Christina, when you finally hooked up. But it was just like after that, she was the whole like I'm yours and you're mine, this whole thing, like, and it kind of like and I don't even know if John was ready for all that. He's just like, whoa.
No.
I just lost my virginity, lady. Like he was just like, what?
Isn't it the other way around? Like stage 5 clingers? Like, doesn't it happen the other way around?
No, but that's to your point though. Like it was interesting to see her come at him like that because that's not what I would have expected from her.
Well, I mean, wouldn't you if like you met someone with straight teeth or kind of like half clean?
Right.
Like that isn't so much of a barbarian, like for the
Right.
first time.
Compared to the wildlings, yeah.
Compared to right? Like yeah, I'd want to wife that up too.
Good point. Yeah. Good point. Good point. I think John was just a little taken aback by it. Even like he's like, oh, he's into it, but he was kind of like, I don't think he was expecting all that, right? Like, I don't know if it's like within wildling culture, if you sleep with somebody, all of a sudden you're just like you're with them, right? Because all the other
Dude, they'll
wildlings,
kill you if you don't be
but
careful.
all the
They'll
other
just,
wildlings, they were all just like, oh yeah, she's with him now, like you know what I mean, like some sort of like dominant, like kind of like.
don't mess with the gingers, bro. I'll tell you that right now, bro. You get screwed one way or another.
All right.
Yeah. There you go. That's a way to
Moving
put a
on.
bookmark in it. Yeah.
So Rob's travel, the Lord Frey, has been affected by another day due to rainstorms, I guess, during their travels. Catelyn warns them how them showing up late will basically look as a slight towards him, and they're already on bad terms with him right now because Rob didn't stick to marrying his daughter. But he mentions like, he's getting the wedding, but not to a king as planned with Rob. And then we see Rob has some very sexy times with his wife in this next scene. And I'm sure, like Christina previously mentioned, Jay enjoyed that one.
She had a nice ass, dude. Like it had that line there that went this way, like this, and like just a little butt cheek, so you could see that it was still plump. Like I'm wondering, first of all, where they got nice teeth, everybody in that fucking show from back then. I have shittier teeth than them, and we have fucking dental care. Okay. And then they got asses like you can't believe some of these chicks on that show. I don't know. Sorry. I'm just saying. Like
I like this.
Attack.
I like how this is the most descriptive you've been on the show ever.
I know,
Talking
look at it. Look, he's so animated. Tell us more,
Well, it's
Jay.
frustrating,
What was your
bro.
favorite
Every
part of the
time
scene?
they throw their smile up, and it's like, oh, and they got nice fucking white chompers that are like pure, like fucking in line. And I'm thinking, they don't even have fucking toothbrushes back then.
So
or even in Game of Thrones, do they?
I mean, purposely, this is why they kind of shot her like this, because she's trying to tease Rob there, post-coital writing to her mother
Big
and Valerian. Yeah.
I think okay. I'm sorry. I just have to make a comment. Like post lovemaking, the last person on my mind is my mom. Like, sorry, I'm not gonna write
No, but
like lay
on
there
Rob's
and write a
description
letter to
too.
my mom.
On Rob's
Like,
description too, I don't even want to cuddle with the girl after sex, okay, or get close to them. I'd rather go and look and see and try to fight a war and figure out a thing, Yeah, I might get a little teased here and there.
your thing, Jay?
Yeah, but it's like, don't touch me. I feel
you-
dirty. Leave me alone. And, so
Why you're single.
there you go, bro.
Jay,
But I'm just
girls
saying,
like
like,
to cuddle a little.
Yeah, I don't love it either.
she
Sometimes
wasn't trying to cuddle though.
if you're into it, you gotta cuddle. You gotta cuddle.
Gotta give him at least 10 minutes so he can get the blood flowing back to the area again.
Some
Let him
people-
fucking
Some people like they show off the fact that they're cuddlers, man. Like, listen,
yeah, Nico's good at that.
so Rob has some sexy times with his wife. She starts writing to her mother,
Sexy times.
post-coital and Valerian, which Christina mentioned. Yeah, kind of weird. Okay.
Yeah.
And then she mentions, does she know her daughter's a queen? And asks him if one day he'll come to visit in Volantis. And he's distracted by her sitting there. And then during all this talk, she mentions that my mother would like to meet you, I'm pretty sure, and her grandchild. And then it's revealed that she is a good child sitting on the bed. And yeah, Rich
wants more sex.
Rob's overjoyed about at this news, of course. So yeah. So
Can I fact, I don't know if you know this. I don't know if it was brought up. I don't think so. Maybe, I don't know. But the actress who plays Talisa?
Yeah.
Do you know who she is?
No.
She is the granddaughter of Charlie Chaplin.
Oh, it says Chaplin, yeah.
Yes.
Her name is Una Chaplin. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, there you go. I always pronounce the O's 2-O in
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Was it great grandfather?
No, it was her grandfather. Like her grandmother
though, or some shit. Like, I
Okay,
guess.
this is the okay, so her grandmother was 18 years old when she married Charlie Chaplin. He was 54.
Wow.
Sure.
Yeah. So it was
Wow.
his fourth wife, and this actress, her mother was the oldest of, I think, 6 children that Charlie and her mom had. And her grandmother had, and so she's like the, and then obviously her mom had her later on in life as well. And yeah, like so she's the granddaughter of Charlie Chaplin.
That's crazy. I did not
Yeah,
know that. That's a good fact right there. Yeah, no, I did not know that. I was
yeah,
about to say, because like, you would think like he's from like the silent era of film. That's why I'm like, how is that her grandfather? I was just like,
yeah,
really?
yeah, just
Wow.
like you when you asked the question, like her great grandfather, like how, like no, it was her grandfather, like one generation away. Like her mother's father was Charlie Chaplin.
Jesus Christ, that's crazy.
Isn't that
Wow.
nuts?
That is nuts. Well, there you
Yeah.
go, Jay. Look how you talked about her ass there. Charlie Chaplin's granddaughter. How
Yeah.
dare
Pioneer, both pioneers there. There you go.
you both
Yeah, what
like
else do I have here? Yeah, her and her grandmother was also like the daughter of a famous playwright, and her grandmother dated like Orson Welles and J.D. Salinger before Charlie Chaplin. I know, right?
kidding me?
No.
Wow. She's like old Hollywood, this girl.
Yeah.
Crazy.
She's
Orson
like,
Welles and JD Salinger, and I think he's a writer, JD Salinger.
Yeah, they were both, because her
Oh,
father was a part,
shit.
and yeah, when he actually when she what's her mom's name? Or her grandmother's name? I think it was, oh, I didn't write it down.
um,
Anyways, um when she got together with Charlie.
He is Catcher in the Rye. I had to look it up. I'm
Yes.
like, isn't that the
Yeah.
Catcher in the Rye author? Yeah, that's fucking
Yeah.
great.
He actually wrote her off, like
that's slavery days.
her great grandfather, because her grandfather and Charlie were the same age. And he wrote her off, wrote her out of like their family and whatever when she married him.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Wow, that's nuts. That's nuts. And
Yeah.
now has she continued. Do you know anything about her career post this? Because I don't feel like I've seen her in things like
Uh,
after this, right?
no, I think she's just
Christina
done like
just looked at it right now.
Does she
she's
have
done a
it?
few
She's done
things,
a bunch of different stuff, but it looks like
nothing
little
major.
TV series, TV shows, episodes.
Appearances on one episode type.
Oh,
She's
she was
worked.
in the whole series, I think, of Treason there, and this Lullaby.
I've never seen those.
What does
Okay.
she need to work for? She's got like she's
Yeah.
sitting on like fortunes. Like
But she does a lot of short. I see shorts and stuff like that, like TV shorts.
I think she does a lot of stuff like in Europe, because I think she's
Yeah,
of
that's what I'm seeing
Spain,
right
like
now.
Spanish. Her
Yeah,
dad is like some
Origin.
Spanish producer, like director or something. So
Well,
she does a lot of things in Europe.
I did not know that. That's pretty crazy.
Yeah.
There you
Yeah,
go.
her mother is Grenadine Chaplin. Everybody was banging each other back then. That's why they had one was in Spain, one was in
Hollywood was
America.
back then too.
That
So
was back. That was before the Weinstein days.
yeah, yeah. So Tormund
Moving on.
gives John some sex advice in this next, particularly about foreplay. I mean, good for him. I mean, he knows his stuff. This wildling tournament, wild. And then we see Orel is this
Don't
is
jam it in there, bro. You got to remember, don't jam it in there.
Yeah.
Okay?
Make sure she's as
It's not
wet
like
as a
spearing a
baby
pig, bro.
seal.
Orel.
Gross.
This is where Orel, you find out that he's very jealous of the whole Egret being with an outsider like John, and he openly admits that to her, because when he starts asking about him to her, and he says, yeah, do you love him because he's pretty and the hair and like everything, like Christina had mentioned? Yeah, he's kind of getting into that. And fun fact, although I don't know the actor's name,
Oh,
I believe this is the guy from Pirates of the Caribbean, is it not? This dude that's Orel?
it is
There you go.
with
Okay,
the eyeball.
that's right. And he's from the original British Office as well, this guy then.
The one that
He was.
just
I think
he's
he was
like,
the original Dwight.
That's right, on the British Office. That's right.
Yeah.
I like this guy. I see this guy. He's a good character actor. He showed up on a bunch of things, other things too, I think, as
Good
well.
Jay.
Yeah, he's looking it up. He's interested now. Yeah.
Jay, did you make notes on Tormund's lovemaking foreplay?
I'm sure he's got them. He's got them.
well,
Yeah.
probably. I don't know. I don't know what I've written down. I've written a lot of stuff. But yeah, no. Where am I
Yeah,
looking this up?
he's jealous of him. So that's established here more. And then we cut over to Sansa.
Oh,
She's talking to Marjorie in this scene about her shitty situation, marrying Tyrion now. And Marjorie says that, he's, listen, Christina was right. There is a lot of love talk and love making talk in this episode. So in this scene, Marjorie
what
said,
is she going on down?
listen, he's far from the worst Lannister. Like Marjorie's trying to make her feel better about the situations she's being forced into. And she says, yeah, listen, when you have kids, it's not going to be the worst. And she basically says, he's even better looking with that scar now that he has, right? Especially with it. And then she's like, she's kind of trying to dance around it, but she's like, kids, she's like, he's a dwarf, right? Like,
Yeah.
she mentions it. And he's like, hey, Tyrion might surprise you. I heard he knows what he's doing. I mean? And she's like, I've heard he's experienced. And she's like, we're quite complicated, hard to please. And she's like, who taught you all this? Your mother? She's like, oh, yes, sweet girl. My mother taught me.
Yeah, just give her a little pat.
Clearly doesn't know that Marjorie has some experience with health for the
No,
sound.
but it just plays into this whole like we forget that Sansa's still really
14.
young. Like
Yeah, 14
she's
here.
so young and she's so innocent, and you think that, oh yeah, because she's tall, or you've seen her for 3 seasons now, she must be like 18 years old or 20 or something. No, she's 14. Like she has no idea what she's like.
Well, that's why a lot of the
Apparently, if you get your period, you can get married in 14.
Well, I was about to say a lot of the themes in this show and ways that they went about things are very barbaric by today's standards. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's kind of like, I mean, even as we see later on, and it's not this episode, I don't think, but the whole like betting ceremony type shit, like that's, you know what I mean? Like, yeah, that's already, I guess, assumed upon if you're getting married that you're already having. But this is like,
it still happens today, Nico. Like in not
they don't
maybe in
check
a
the sheets
literal,
though.
right.
maybe not in a literal term, but like as a married person, people are constantly like in my bedroom, like when you having a baby, like when are you doing this? So it's a different, but it's the same. It's the same. The conversation is the same.
You want to have your fun too, as a I mean, regardless, like if it's nowadays standards or back then, you should get to enjoy each other. Now you're like, okay, we're in the middle of dinner now. You guys go have sex. See you in a bit. Like
That's
that was
literally what
crazy.
it is.
Right.
That was crazy. That was like, hey, fuck. The guy he puts his wine up. All right, let's go. Yeah, you guys got to go have a betting
But
ceremony
we
now.
will
We'll
get to that
watch.
when we get to it. Yeah. So,
Oh yeah. Sorry,
uh,
I don't know. That threw me off. You
no,
guys
it's
started
okay.
talking about.
But I like that. Yes, sweet girl. Yeah, my mother did kind of just like, yeah. You're obviously you don't know, like, because you're still a virgin and everything else. And like she said, she's 14 here, right? So,
Yeah.
Tyrion sits with Braun in this next scene. He's talking about how she's a child, and Braun doesn't see the problem. Tyrion says she's too young, and he says that you've had young before, but he's like, yeah, but not this young, and Shay won't like it, and he basically says to what she's a whore, marry one, bed the other. What does it matter in this
Not
situation?
bad. That was a good idea, though. Braun had a good idea, dude.
And he
I mean, seriously.
tells him, have a child with her, and then one day you'll be the Lord of Winterfell. And he said, you pay me to kill people that bother you. The evil notions come free, because he says
Yeah.
he says to him, you want to fuck that girl, you're just not ready to admit it. Like he says to him, you'd like to, because he's referenced how she's pretty in the past to folks as well, and there's been that kind of like talk before, but never him being predatory in any way towards her. Like he was never
No.
trying to go that route. And you can tell he's uneasy about this whole situation to begin with, because it's being forced upon him, right? But in a way, I don't know if Braun's lying either, because she's a young, attractive girl. But that's what he's saying. He's like, I just think you're not ready to admit it, but I think you are interested, and I think that this is the problem, the conundrum that he's having right now with himself, right? Whether or not he's willing to go there, because he knows,
Yeah.
to Christina's point, it's expected of them to like have a kid.
Yeah.
whatever, right? In this situation.
I think I really like I think just Braun and Tyrion, like their friendship is
I
like
like
perfect in a way because they balance each other. They're like the devil and the angel on your shoulder, right? Like Tyrion is so like analytical and literal and he overthinks everything. He tries to do the right thing. And then Braun is just like the total
He tells him
opposite,
straight
just
up, but he
straight
just
up,
tells him
like
straight up,
just
yeah.
do what you got to do. Like it's fine. It is what it is.
Yeah.
But they're balanced.
I
So
I agree, and it's also nice because like I think deep like beneath all that, Braun is actually like he pretends like he doesn't care about him and he does things for money, and clearly he does, and he's in it for those things as well. But they do have this weird relationship where they weren't ready to even like say they were friends for a good while there, but now you can clearly see like they do confide in one another and shoot the shit and make
yeah,
jokes, and like you said, it
yeah,
usually does help as a sounding board for Tyrion to kind of figure out like what he's gonna do next, like as a result of all that. Um,
yeah,
but yeah, I agree. I do really like the relationship between these two because like whether they like it or not, they seem to be friends. You know what I mean? Like as
yeah.
much as like one's not ready to admit it, and the other
I'd
is.
like to have a friend that paid me, bro. Fuck. I could give information like that, tell you
Absolutely.
how it is straight up. So
So then we see Joffrey. He meets with Tywin about a report from his. He wants a report from his small council meetings, which he does not attend. And Tywin is quick to remind him that he's able to attend anytime he would like. Yet he does. He chooses not to attend.
well, apparently they fucking have it all the way across town, man, really, and that's the problem, right? He's got to walk up a bunch of stairs, the little bitch.
Right, which Tywin
He,
moved.
he looks such an idiot sitting on that throne too, man. Sorry, I wanted to say that too. He was sitting on the throne when I can't stand looking at him on there. I'm starting to see where you guys are like, you know, I'm really starting to not, whatever.
He's
Yeah,
a
okay,
spoiled brat. He's a spoiled fucking brat, right? That's what I mean.
bro.
He's the worst. He's the worst. I don't like him at all.
So I'm gonna play devil's advocate here, and actually, like,
Oh,
I think this is like one of Joffrey's like most likable scenes
Because he actually is trying to say, like, you need to involve me. I need.
because he's actually like being a king. Like, as the king, he needs to be counseled on what is happening. You can't just like assume that you have to tell him what's going on. So, like, I agree with his point of like, tell me what's happening. I want to know what's happening, right? And as the hand, like you need to tell me. And also like as he gets into his like conversation about Daenerys, like he deserves to know like any type of foreign threats. He knows what's happening in his own land, but like I know Tywin doesn't think it, but
Yeah, but I also don't know where this is coming from with him. Like when it comes to him, like I feel like it's like someone else manipulating him to kind of act this way. Now that isn't shown in this scene to be the case, nor does it in this episode. So maybe this is actually him taking an actual interest for once. But do you really think it's helpful to actually have him involved whatsoever in any of this stuff that's going on? Like I hear you, he should be involved, but I think they purposely, obviously, do not keep him involved because he's going to be no help in these situations. Like,
well,
I think he's
I,
just
I-
figurehead only. Like, he's not actually, you know what I mean? Like, it's only like, let's put this guy in this position of power because we need to, and we can control the situation. And you're right, to your point, that is what's going on, right? And is that fair? No, but he's not proven any leadership skills up to this point.
well, but he's not been taught anything either, too, right? Like, so,
Right.
like, if he's just sitting back watching or just seeing it at the end, like, it's okay. His grandfather comes in to save the day and or all that shit and
but
makes all these
that's
calls for him. But if you're expected to have a baby and then get married at fucking 14, then I'm pretty sure you should be included in these city council meetings if you're supposed to be that type of person, right? In this type of scenario too, right? And I feel from somebody that hasn't watched this show, because I know you've watched 10 times, Christina, and you've watched it once already before this. So from somebody that's never seen it, I feel like this is what leads him to get angry with people if that's what's happening. Like he's gonna be a pissed off king later on down the road at people that maybe stabbed him in the back or maybe didn't fill him in with stuff that he should have known.
I think this
So I
is
don't
like
know.
just it's a good scene to show exactly how the dynamic of his rule is because there he is, he's sitting on the most powerful chair in all of Westeros. He's there, and he's high above everybody. He's high above his grandfather, right? Sitting up there. And then Tywin went to match, or to like kind of rebalance the power dynamic. He walks up and stands and he towers over him.
Mhm.
Right. So it's like you open the scene when Joffrey is trying to be a king and ask these very appropriate questions about like how his council is managing affairs.
Mhm.
And then as Tywin is just reasserting his power and his dominance by walking up the stairs and like standing. And then, even at the end of the scene, when before he turns around to walk away, he flips back to Joffrey and is like, "Your Grace." Because it's like you have to remember he's still the king. Like, yeah, he's a
Yes.
brat, and yeah, he's, not really the king, but he's the king. Like, you can't, like,
I made note of that as well, that your Grace part, because he did catch himself
Yeah,
slipping.
it was a pity thing, right?
That continues to happen. Well, no, it's like you have to catch your and I
He
will.
forgets it's his grandson, I guess, and
Tywin's a bully though. Like Tywin's a straight up bully. Like we know that. Like he is a fucking bully, and everybody else has to like just follow suit. So I will say like it's.
I don't know if he's a bully. I don't know
He's
if I
a
would
king.
call him a bully.
I don't know. I think he's a bit of a bully. I think he's a bit of a bully. I think he just thinks he knows what's best for everybody involved, and he kind of just pushes his narrative on everybody, and he makes good moves, and he is a great person in war and everything else. But to your point, I think he is failing as a hand to the king in this situation, because he isn't advising him. He is just dictating the situation. So you're right. In that sense, he is, I think you're right. He should have been pushing him a little bit and being like, you need to involve me. I stick to my, would it do them any good though? I honestly think it's for his own best interest that they're not involving him in a lot of this shit. I just don't think he's gonna add anything to the situation.
Just can't wait to be king. Sorry, that was just it just reminded me of the Lion King reference for the way you were talking about that whole scenario.
For all of the Lion King reference.
There you go. We're
there's
cut off
there's
now.
another let me see. It's not really mentioned like in the show so much or whatever, but I know that, and I didn't read the books. This is just like when I was just doing some digging
Research?
for details and notes and stuff. It does mention in the book that anyone who sits upon the throne that is not worthy of sitting on the throne will get cut. And I know we see that a lot more in House of the Dragon with Viserys. Like, he's sitting there and he gets cut. And that's how he kind of starts his like demise with the infections and all of that. But it's like this would have been a perfect time for them to incorporate something like that for Joffrey, if they were going to do something like that and they didn't. So
happened at all in Game of Thrones? I don't think so, right? I think it was just in that House of the Dragon. Maybe it did.
Yeah, I don't think so. Like, I mean, I don't know. I like, I'm trying to think, and it's like I don't think that there is ever really a moment, because nobody ever really sits in the chair. Like,
oh no, that's really interesting though that you say that though. That is an interesting fact too. That I like that. I like that a lot.
yeah, and they talk. Apparently, it's brought up a lot in the book. Like, it's a detail in the book that's like repeated, but it's not really repeated in the show or mentioned in the show. So, anyways, I just thought this would have been a perfect opportunity for them to incorporate that. But I guess if it's for continuity, if they weren't going to include it, like, it's like, why would they?
Yeah, I guess it was telling at a certain point too, if every character went and sat on it and like cut them.
Maybe they figured that out over the span between House of Dragons to the show. Now,
yeah, maybe the
maybe
fans
they
were
figured
like,
out that don't sit
missed
on the
that
seat because it's gonna fuck you up.
Right.
And you're gonna die, right? You get an infection.
Foreshadowing, a bit of foreshadowing then in that sense, right? Saying that person isn't worthy to be on there, right? That's interesting. I do like that though.
Yeah.
But yeah, so yeah, he meets with them about the small council reports. Yeah, and basically like we talked about here, he says, he questions why he runs the meetings from the Tower of the Hand, because that's where I work. I'm more productive this way. And he confronts him. He asks about Daenerys and her dragons. Tywin says, how did you hear that? He's like,
I don't know how he got that. Yeah.
Oh, listen, he's like, it's true, isn't it? And he's like, yeah. And he basically questions the danger of what's going on with that situation. And Tywin says, he gets counseled on such things he doesn't know anything about and asked to be consulted in the future. He agrees. And then there's the whole "Your Grace, walk away" scene that we mentioned. Yeah. It is a really good scene. And I don't know. I don't know where it was coming from, quite frankly. Like him taking a self-interest at this point in time. I don't know if it's like the Marjorie thing rubbing off on him, or because like she was kind of pushing him more into the limelight, thinking that the people should like him more. You know what I mean? There was that whole kind of aspect of her playing around with his head.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I don't know if that's where it's coming from, because you know, he just finally grew a pair in this scene, because it was very surprising to say the least.
Yeah.
Then we go over to Yunkai, I think it's called, the Yellow City.
Yeah. Yunkai, yeah.
Yellow City.
Yeah, with Daenerys. They say they can take the city if they engage them in battle, but they won't. They have was it 2,000 slaves?
200,000.
200, yeah, 200,000.
Yeah, I wrote that down wrong. I knew it was that wasn't that little. He says like, we don't need them, but we don't need this city, but Daenerys wants to free the slaves because that's kind of her whole thing now. And
Yeah.
then this Razdul Moeres comes to offer terms of peace. He says Yunkai is beautiful and there's no need to attack them and create bloodshed. He offers her gold and as many ships as she requires. Basically, just leave us alone to do what we will in peace. And she offers him, like, my gift to you is your life. Release all the slaves and give me, and give them your riches. And he basically threatens her as a result of her saying this. And then Jorah warns her that they won't back down, and she tasks them to find out who their powerful friends are that he had mentioned that they're going to go and get help from. Any comments on this scene in particular?
I do. Jay, what about you?
They said they were around. These guys were around before. They were around before the, like even before the dragons. I don't know. Are they talking prior to this now, or what? Are they talking like how before the like because they disappeared until she got those eggs going again, right? They really apparently had disappeared, right? They weren't in the beginning of this.
I think the last dragon before these three was only like 100 and something years. Like, so it wasn't like it was I think maybe he was just saying that like in reference, like the Yunkai have been around for millennia, right? Like we're a peaceful city, like we
Nobody's
like, and I
bugged
think
us.
even Jorah says he's like, they can withstand a siege, like they can outlast a siege because they have all of their resources within their city walls. So they can, you can try to attack them, but they're or wait them out kind of thing, and they're just never gonna, because that's just how the city has survived for so long.
Yeah, they just beat them down from like above. They kind of beat them down from kind of the way they're you can keep sending guys at them and they have enough people to you know
Yeah,
make it
and like
last until
things like
you
they
end up
can,
surrendering.
yeah, they have all their food sources inside the walls. Like they don't need anything from
To
outside.
leave. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I was wondering because they said they'd been around a lot long, but I'm still wondering how long they said quite a while, right? I didn't know if they said how long they'd been around, but they just said before the dragon. So I'm thinking, okay, the last dragon, let's say 170, whatever 100 whatever years ago it was, and is it prior to those ones? Is what I'm thinking. Like since even before, who knows, right? Because we don't know anything before that, right? It's the book, sort of. If anything, it'd
Yeah.
be on the book in the book side of it, right?
Mm-hmm.
I really
So,
like this episode. Mostly I think because this was like the first time that I guess when that mercenary comes in, Razdel, I don't even know what his name is.
Razdul.
or Rez.
Eyeliner, that guy, eyeliner.
Yeah, eyeliner. Yeah.
He when he comes in, like this is like the first time that you see Daenerys actually like sitting atop almost her own throne, and she has all three of her dragons around her. Like you've never really seen that before. And I think like the last episode that I've recorded with you guys, like we were talking about Daenerys's first act as like a ruler. Like what made you think like, okay, she has potential to rule, is when she blew up like Astapor. and all of that, but this is like the first time you actually see her like
Yeah.
looking like a queen, right? Yeah, and she had like that's
That's like
pretty
her throne.
badass.
That's the
Like
couch,
imagine
but it's
walking into that environment and it's like she's surrounded, like she has her 2 like council right there,
Right.
and she has her 3 dragons. Like why wouldn't you want to side with this woman? Like
Right. Well, I think
uh,
finally at this point, she finally has enough resources to actually show up to somewhere and actually have this whole situation set up for
of
her.
course.
And like, it's like one of those traveling kind of caravan type.
Caravans, yeah.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
And I think now I think it's pretty easy to see that she's kind of this whole liberating slaves from another city, getting them to join her empire that she's trying to grow at this point in time. It is basically now it seems like very slowly becoming her thing, like her goal.
Yeah.
Because like it seems like even as soon as she finds out that an area has got slaves, she's like, okay, well we got to free them, and then basically her army or her power, her influence grows as a result, right? So like you're right. This is a shift, I think, for her in this scene for sure. Now that she
Yeah.
got this whole, they got the what are they called, the Unsullied, right, and everybody else with them. So
Yeah. And he does like, when there's a few things he says to her like um that he has well, first of all, he says, "You are mad." And that obviously is triggering for her because her father was the Mad King, and she didn't know her father, but she hears horror stories, and she finds it hard. I think you see in, like, the cutscene to her face, like, she's kinda taken aback by that because it's she's acting like she's not like him, but it is kind of like she has it in her, like, she has that little bit of madness in her.
yeah,
And then he also like basically threatens her and tells her like perhaps we'll make a slave of you as well,
yeah,
and that's again very triggering because it's the opposite of what she's trying to do.
mhm,
And I think that's why the dragon reacts and he like screeches, because you threatened their mother.
yeah.
So
Like, she does not take kindly to any slavery type of talk. Like that's why when she
no.
mentioned, like she says, like free these slaves and I'll leave you alone. And like when people refuse, they're like, okay, well then I'm just gonna kill you or whatever. You know what I mean? Like she
Well,
was
I'm just trying to wonder why people don't like her so much if she's just trying to free slaves, like, and
Because
she's
it
just
goes
trying to.
against their whole like ecosystem, like
but her
I
name
mean,
is spreading across the land now. Like now
oh yeah.
now compared to early days when people had to be kind of like were like figuring out who she was and they and like what the hell, you have dragons, like now it's like now they know of her when she shows up. Now before, no, this guy wouldn't even probably even take counsel with her like she did in this scene, but now they are hearing about how they are traveling across the land and kind of doing this shit now, right? Like I think word's
Yeah.
starting to travel now. Like it's gone all the
And
way back to King's Landing. So I'm sure these guys already know about this shit too, right?
yeah, and I think this is like the first time when Missandei introduces her to this guy. She adds or she uses the breaker of chains in her name.
Right. Because the Unsullied. Yeah, that's right.
So
That's
I
right.
think this is the first time. So yeah, she's just adding to her.
Yeah, she got like 20 AKAs by the end of this show, man. All right. So next scene, Tyrion tries to give Shay gold chains as an apology. She's upset at him.
it doesn't
Uh,
work, eh?
Yeah, well, where we last left off of that last episode was basically that's when he had to go break it to Sansa that this was the deal, and she asked her to stay in the room with them, right? So like when that happened, it was just like, yeah, she was just giving him like fucking death glares, right? So he basically pleads with her, saying he has no choice. And she says, we do have a choice, we can still run away. And then she does that. Yeah, she says the whole thing about
He
yeah,
looks so sweet. Look at him.
yeah.
It's love. See?
It's
Love.
love.
Love, love,
All you
love.
need is love.
And she's
Yeah.
like, oh, I guess I'm just a whore to you. And he kind of like we've kind of reached this is kind of
We
retreading some.
say love. Nico says whore.
they've retreaded this kind of like they've gone over these points a little bit before, but this is where he kind of says like, I'll buy you a home and I'll provide for you, and if we have kids, I'll take care of them in the city. Basically having this like secret double life type situation he's like creating with her in his head, right? Kind of saying that we can do this still, because he kind of makes it clear again that he has to stay here. He can't just leave. I'm a Lannister, this whole spiel that he's given her before. And she basically just ends it by saying, no, yeah, she's a whore, and when he tires of fucking her, she'll be nothing to him. And she's just convinced in this fact now that this is his new life, and basically
little does she know he is a hoe lover.
Yes.
So
he's worked his way around. He's worked his way around. He's worked his way around he knows his way around the whorehouse. So
he knows.
Yes, he does. Yeah. So like,
but not as good as the other guy apparently.
I'm surprised.
Baelish?
No, the guy who just doesn't talk about it. Remember, they didn't talk about the girls never bragged about. And that
Podrick.
Oh, Podrick. Okay.
He gets free.
Podrick don't love hoes like Tyrion does. Like maybe as much as Bronn does, but like
hoes love Podrick.
Apparently, yeah, exactly.
But no, I mean, I think at this point in time, it's like, I don't know why he didn't tell her that tragic story about what happened with him and his father and the horror. He didn't. Did he? He told someone else. He
didn't when they were doing that drinking game.
Oh, she was there for that.
She was there for that.
Surprised that, I mean, not to say that she thinks this is going to be any different as a result, but like, you know what I mean? Like,
but I think like when your emotions are in it, like,
yeah,
you're the other woman at the end of the day. And like, I don't like, she's in love with him and she wants to be with him, but he like at some point it had to end. Like,
yeah, this is one of those weird, like, forbidden love type, like Romeo and Juliet type situations though, right? Where it's just like, they can't, because of who they are, they can't be open about this relationship with anybody in those circles. Like, so even at the end of the day, like, she's right. The only solution to this would be to run away with her, I think, but then, like you said, like, it's not like he wouldn't have access to what he has now if he runs away with her, right? So it's a hard situation to be in. He's kind of dragging her down with him as a result, right? Like, I think in this situation, right?
He is, for sure. Like, it's totally selfish, but
it is.
He's in love. I don't think he actually intended to fall in love either, but
no,
it's just Tyrion. He's just, he's about that whole life.
Complicated character. Layers, people, whole life.
I love Tyrion, but yeah, I mean that in the like nicest way possible.
Tyrion's my favorite character in the show for the record. Yeah, it's my favorite. Okay, then we cut over to Lady Melisandre, who speaks to Gendry as they pass King's Landing. He sees the Blackwater wreckage, and she assures him like how special he is, despite him, saying that he's lowborn.
Basically saying, oh, you're special, even though you're a bastard.
Well, she reassures him, like, she tells him how, like, he is the bastard of Robert Baratheon in this scene, which is, I guess, unbeknownst to him, because she's like, why do you think people were chasing after you and everything else, right? And she lets that, cat out of the bag here in this scene, right?
Can I just, I don't know, throw this out there? Am I the only one that was like very confused at how like shocked he was at this? I thought he knew, like, or I thought he had an idea that it could have been the possibility, because why else? And I know she even asks him, like, why do you think the gold cloaks were after you? Why do you think like these people were after you? So I actually had to go back and like not watch anything, but just read recaps, because I was very confused in this scene. And even again, I've watched this scene so many times, but like it never hit me until this time when I had to make the note. I was like, wait a second, like, this is when he finds out he's Robert's son? Like, I thought he already knew.
No, I agree with you. I thought the same thing.
Didn't they approach him in the thing that one time? Remember,
everybody approached him.
That approached him in the
Jon Arryn approached him. Ned Stark,
iron place.
Yeah, when he was a blacksmith.
But Ned never told him. Ned never told him that.
Yeah, and I guess like this is where the confusion is because we as the viewers are hearing all the backstory, and so we are privy to this information and who Gendry is, but I guess he doesn't know, or like nobody's said it to him. But
I
it's
I also had this thought while watching this scene, but I just kind of took it at face value because she
because it's like
explained that to us in this scene. I was like, oh, okay. But you're right. Us as the viewers of this, almost everybody under the sun around him has mentioned this at this point in time or is aware of it, but him, I guess, right? So I guess that is the case. Or he's just playing dumb, but I doubt that's the case.
no, I don't think he is. I think he's like
yeah,
because they're like trading notes on who's like more lowborn. Like,
Well,
you know,
the only thing I was wondering too is maybe because maybe he didn't know maybe any of Robert's other fucking bastard sons were
they killed
still
him.
alive. Yeah,
No,
but maybe he didn't know, and that's why he didn't think. Yeah,
it just
that's
is
what they
very
might have been
strange
alluding
because it's
to.
like, why would you leave on the advice that some random person just tells you you need to get out of here to save your life? Like, why else do you think you need to get out of here? Like, why you specifically? Like,
and
I
then
don't
he
know.
just became a stowaway. Yeah, I know. I hear you. Yeah, you're right. It is. Yeah, because like, and I think maybe that's why like he didn't really know like his purpose at a certain point. He kind of just was tired of running. Like, and they mentioned that when he got given up by the group without banners there, whatever they're called,
The Brotherhood without banners.
when they gave him up. When they gave him up there, like he was kind of like at that point he was all settled. He's like, yeah, no, I'm just gonna be their blacksmith or whatever, their armor smith, and I'm just here. And he's like, yeah, I'm tired of running. And it just, but like you said, if he doesn't really know at a certain point why he's out there doing it or why people were chasing him, kind of makes you wonder. Yeah, exactly. I don't know. Or maybe he's just in denial. I don't know. It's hard to say, but you're right. She literally does not know to this scene. Like she does. I agree. I did think that.
And if that is the case, I think this scene should have been bigger. Like, this is like a huge scene, and because there's so many different things that could happen with this information now, and I don't know. It just seems so passive. Like, it just seems so like meh. Like, I
But
don't
it
know.
doesn't change what he feels about himself, though. I will say that because
No, but it could have. Like,
yeah,
it could have been like, I'm Robert Baratheon's son. Like, I have a claim to the throne. Like, like, I don't know.
yeah, because when they get to the castle later, though, he's still like not convinced as to what is occurring. Like he's just like, yeah, I don't know about all this, right? Like, you know what I mean? Like, because it's kind of one of those situations where he's so used to. It would be like, someone like telling you like your whole life is a lie, like your whole identity is basically not who you think you are, essentially, right? That would be pretty shocking if someone just came up to you, you're like, oh, you're royalty. You're like, yeah, okay, right? Like
For like a hot second, I was just gonna say something, and I'm so glad I just like my brain just like stopped me from saying something.
We don't stop for saying things on these shows. You know that, eh?
And then we just had it.
No, I was gonna major spoiler. I'm not. Yeah.
No, I was gonna
Anyways.
say. Oh, okay.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah. No. Okay. Next scene. Next.
All right. So in the next scene here, Arya gives Beric shit for selling off Gendry, and they basically, there's this whole thing about him saying about like, we had to, and who his god is, and she says death is her god in this scene, which is a pretty badass thing for her to say. I thought even like he was like, whoa, right? When she said that. Well, it's just chick is hardcore, right? And they switch plans, I guess, amongst their talk here in this scene, to go rob a Lannister raiding party that they hear word is near them. And Arya is then upset that they no longer are going to return her, as was their original plan. So this group has been very kind of like flopping left and right on kind of like, you feel like these guys are good guys and all, but yet they do things in service to themselves as opposed to other people. Obviously, they kind of
That's
just
your whole MO. They're the Brotherhood without banners. They have no banner.
I was saying this
thing. No loyalties.
today, the last episode we did, I think it was, where I'm like, they're kind of like Robin Hood, like kind of, you know what I mean? Like, yeah, essentially.
I like that.
Yeah, they are, because they are. I mean, they kind of are taking advantage where they can and taking taking money from other people for favors and for giving people up and all this other shit here, and they're looking out for number one, right? And for
Basically, like the police, like over there, basically in the town.
Not the police.
So yeah, so then she basically runs away in this scene, and then the hound snatches her up. Because she's talking about
Big bad wolf.
I want to go to River Run. Now the hound, who is I guess not too far away because he just got let go recently by them as well. He snatches her up in the woods there. She's escaping, and
he's probably following them because like he knows that's Arya Stark, right? Like he knows. So he's like, what are they gonna do with her? And like, how can I cash in on this? Like,
what makes her character though, you never know this guy's MO, right? Like it's very interesting, I think, a lot of the time, this character, because he'll say one thing, do another thing, and think an entirely other thing at the same time.
I still feel like he's just protecting, like he's protecting her for that reason, he's protecting her.
I don't know, man. He's a pretty bad guy at times, but then other times he shows that he has a heart, and then other times he's just an asshole. I don't know. It's weird. Like he's complicated. He's a human being. Like he is. Like, you know what I mean? Like
I think I froze for like half a second, but I was gonna say, I was like, do you think it's like, a little bit of love? Like, do you think he has a little bit of love?
I mean, nothing is like that. That'd be like me looking
like not
at
sexual love. I'm talking like dad-daughter love.
Oh, maybe.
He already saved Sansa before, so like he doesn't feel like some sort of kinship to them as a result, and like he already says fuck the queen and all the other situations going on in King's Landing. So like or King, he doesn't
maybe
like.
He wants to bang Lady Stark there, the mother. Who knows?
I don't think he has a sexual bone in his body. I think he's just dirty and like
he's just afraid of fire. Leave him alone.
Yeah, we already had that scene with him and Braun, like Braun with all the women, and he had no part in it. He sat and ate his food on a table nearby. Remember? Yeah, so I don't think
because he's a one-woman man. That's why.
Yeah,
There's not very many of those back then.
Love, guys, love.
It's a lot of love in this scene.
All right, so now we're back over to Jamie here. He's about to leave Lord Bolton the next day, and Brienne is set to stay there. And he mentions to her that he owes her, and she said, "Then my oath to Catelyn is now yours, essentially." Then, and he promises to bring her daughters back to her in this scene because Brienne there is, I think, are they trying to charge her with treason? I can't recall. Like they're basically making her stay there, but I think that they wanted to charge her with treason at one point, but now I think that's cooled off, and then they plan on taking. I think there is an
element. I think there's an element of like she's a prisoner for sure. I think there is a treasonous element because she was Renly's like knight, and then she kind of saddled up for Stannis.
Right.
And that goes against like obviously Joffrey and the Lannister, you know what I mean? So I think I can't remember, but I think there's an element of that.
Not on good terms with them, but I think in this moment, Jamie felt safe enough to leave her, though, because he was like, okay, yeah, well, when our paths cross again type of deal, it seemed like almost where he's just like, that's how I felt. Because it he wasn't happy about it, but he's like, okay, I have no choice. I need to get back home. Maybe he planned.
Yeah, I think that was the thing. It's like,
yeah,
he knows he's going home.
Right.
And
he could do something from there to help her, probably. He thought, probably.
Yeah.
So he promises her in this moment he's going to bring the daughters to Catelyn Stark, and he says, then the man who cut his hand off, I don't know his name, but he shit talks him on the way out.
Locke.
Okay, Locke, and he makes a funny line to him about he doesn't remember cutting his balls off because he's such he's not talking back to him at all when he's talking shit to him. He's like, right, so he's like, oh, I don't remember cutting your balls off too. He's calling him a pussy and all this stuff, right? And he says, this is the disgusting part though that makes Jamie wonder what's gonna go down, because he's like, oh yeah, don't worry, we'll take care of your friend Brienne too. And so he tells him on his way out, right? So
and that obviously doesn't.
Give my regards to your dad too, right? Isn't that what he said too?
Oh, that's what Roose Bolton said to Tywin, because he's afraid of the backlash, because he's like, it was Roose's men who captured Jamie and maimed him.
That's the only reason he's allowing him to go back, because he said, you go tell your father I had nothing to do with this and I will allow you to leave. That's what he said. He's like, do you make it clear that we didn't cut your fucking hand off, right? And he's like, okay, no problem. So
poor guy's got to learn how to use one hand. That's what's tripping me out, and it's not even, it's his dominant hand's gone. Poor guy.
So
There
another
we go.
love-filled
With his left hand.
as Christina
There
like
we go.
Oh, I'm sure Jay loved this one too.
two women
Oh,
seducing Theon as he's tied up here, and again,
Never mind. I like this scene. This scene was hot.
I was
Like, holy crap. Oh, man. But
it came out of
no,
nowhere.
poor Theon.
yeah.
But, it was just like.
It turns out just to be yet another form of torture, though, because all of a sudden, the mysterious stranger, as he's not yet been identified to this point, he comes out and starts like making a bunch of noise, like, "Oh, sorry, did I interrupt this whole situation?" Because at first Theon's like so scarred from all the torture that he's endured, and his mind's all fucked up at this point, and like even when the girl gets on top of him, like he can't get hard, and he's kind of like, he's like, "I can't do this." Like he's gonna come, he's gonna.
Where is he? Where is he?
Yeah. So
Like,
right? It's like one of those what is it when you fall in love with your abductor type situation? What's it
like
called?
Stockholm syndrome?
Stockholm almost.
Oh, Stockholm.
Almost, because I mean maybe not at this point, but he's getting there in terms of like he's so like afraid of this guy, right? Like it seems like so so he comes out and comes out making some noise, and then they jump off of him, and then he makes some proclamations about how much he knows he likes fucking, and we've all heard about your dick, and because basically saying, oh yeah, you're such a ladies man, you got like such a big dick, right? Okay, basically let's make some alterations. And it looks like they cut his dick off in this scene. It cuts away, but
Well, I don't know, man. I just put a question mark. I'm thinking, what the fuck, man? Like, give him blue balls to add it on.
It appears that they're talking about his dick, and then they're going to make some alterations, Jay. So what are we supposed to think that is going to happen here, right? So,
All right. Well, they didn't do circumcisions on us back in the day, right?
No.
I got you guys questioned there. Like,
that would be a pretty severe circumcision.
but we do know that they take people's balls off, right? The eunuchs. So we do know that. You know that's the thing, because Varys has reminded us many times. but yeah,
because it's always don't forget to get your animal spayed and neutered.
There you go.
Yeah, that tool that they actually showed, like in the scene, was like
scary.
it was a replica of a tool that was used for that reason. Like that's.
There you go.
For what, circumcisions or cutting your balls off?
Oh no, the whole kit and caboodle.
Bang.
So very sad for Theon. He's getting
Jay's face.
Wow, man.
So then we see Ygritte. She sees a windmill for the very first time.
Is that a palace?
Yeah, and then again, this is kind of where I made this comment earlier. It seems like they have a lot to learn from each other, because they're kind of, again, she's asking the million questions, and they're going back and forth talking about certain things, and they flirt some more. He says, maybe one day I'll take you to Winterfell. And she says, maybe one day I'll take you there when we take our land back.
Is she really that dumb?
Oh, this is where they're headed right now. The wildlings feel they lay claim to the land. Yeah, exactly. So that's what this whole journey is about. And this is where the scene where we do learn more about that, as John mentions, like, you guys have invaded 6 times previous to this, all times you failed. And he warns her. He says, as an army, they are no match for them. And he says, this will be the 7th time you fail. Like, if you continue on this journey, if this is your conquest, that he basically says, don't go there. Like, this is not a good idea. This is like, this whole situation is not good. Right. And
he's worried about her.
Well, yeah. But he also and then
lost his virginity, no, Terry? So.
Yeah, well, this is where
I think this is his like subtle, like somebody's trying to break up with you and you're just not picking up the cues. You're just kind of like, because you're in your la la land and you think it's all good. I think I'm being like, nah, this isn't going to end well. She's not listening because she's like in love.
That's what I mean. He's making all these like very serious points, and then she just reminds him that they're each other's loves, and basically then hops on him, jumps his bones right after this, right? So it's just like,
yeah, because she's distracting him. Like, no, we're not going to think about anything else except you and I, right. And we're going to be together until the end. Ha ha ha.
It's a problematic relationship for this.
But I mean, isn't that most relationships now? Like, I mean, even up to this day and age, like, I mean, really, if they want what they want, they're gonna get it.
When in doubt, hop on it.
Yeah. It's what I'm supposed to hear, man. Oh, fuck.
Lots of love, folks, in this episode. Lots of
love.
Just reminded me. Oh yeah, that's love. Oh shit, that's what it was called. Hey guys, I forgot, man. Sorry.
So in this next scene, Osha gives Bran's keeper shit about what he keeps telling him, oh, what's his name? Jojin?
Yeah.
Yeah. Says, we aren't going to Castle Black. She refuses it. And, basically Bran, says that he needs to follow the three-eyed raven, and there's, has some predestined path and that he needs to follow. And Osha warns them. She details a past, something that happened to her in her past in this scene. Her
I think it's her husband.
Husband, yeah.
Who people thought left her, but he hadn't. And then I guess from my understanding of the scene, she said that he came back as the undead essentially and almost killed her. Like he was like a White Walker or something like that. Like, yeah. And he ended up stabbing him in the heart with a knife. And you got to remember, she is a wildling as well. So that's probably beyond the wall then at this point in time, right? And she stabbed him in the heart with a knife, I guess, and then burnt her hut down to basically kill him. And she's basically, she's saying that she's determined not to stray from their current path. Like, she basically makes that clear, and she kind of warns them about the horrors that are outside in the world that they're not aware of in that sense, when she kind of tells them this story. I think that's essentially what she was doing it for, right? Was to kind of yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, because she was tasked with, like, making sure that the boys get back to their family, and she knows that their brother is at Castle Black, so she's trying to get them to go back to the wall, so that she knows that they're safe. And of course, Bran and his visions.
Yeah, he thinks they have to go north, right?
Yeah. I know.
Actually wrote in my notes here, distraction, don't care.
I'm not a huge fan of his storyline either. No, and as I've stated, I think previously when you were on another episode too with us, I said that this is my least favorite storyline, and I think at this point originally
there's no sex in it, bro. Relax, okay?
No. You'll see. But
yeah, we did talk about this because I was like, this did not need to drag out for the 7 or 8 seasons. Like, it definitely did not need to drag out like this.
Yeah. It seemed like the only one where they knew what their end game was, and they just had to stretch it. They had nothing else figured out. It felt like you know what I mean? Like everybody else, they have like all these different relationships between everybody, and this one was just like, yeah, this is it. Like, this is this other storyline.
You basically just ruined that storyline for me for the whole 8 seasons.
No, there's definitely there's a point.
Oh, okay.
But I'm just saying it just doesn't
points to the story. This is what's so disappointing about it. All right, so you'll see.
No, there's a point to the storyline. It just doesn't need to be as stretched out as it is. I'm saying.
So you're thinking maybe filler.
It's totally filler for sure. Like what Nico was just saying. It's just.
And what I thought previously, Jay, was the weakest storyline in the season was the Jon Snow stuff. Now I don't think that. Now I think this is the weak. And after this season, this Bran stuff, that was my least favorite past this season. But for whatever reason, this wildling stuff I wasn't a fan of the first time, though, even more so.
Well, I liked it as soon as I started seeing those old giants. That's when I started liking it.
I like it more now. But not originally when I first seen this.
Okay.
But yeah, this brand stuff is not that interesting. But and then so now this next scene is Master Qyburn. Okay, he cares for Jaime on the road back during this scene and his stump, and he mentions how much more knowledge.
You said a stump. I call it a stump. I don't know what the hell would it be.
His arm stump.
It looks like they added a piece of wood there. Is what it looks like they did.
Well, listen, it's the medical science at this time. He mentions how much more knowledgeable he is than Master Pycelle, and he basically says, like, if he had his he asks him why he had his title taken away from him, I guess, previously, and this is where he mentions how it was due to experiments in the name of medical science, and that he was.
Well, that's what they still do nowadays. Yeah, I was thinking, poor guy.
There is that dark period of they've had to try a lot of shit that was unsuccessful, but it was also, I think, him taking dead bodies and doing shit too, and there was a whole again, he doesn't go too far into it, but he alludes.
They were doing it right up to One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, bro. Come on.
Right. It's a time where it's a lot, again, more barbaric in a lot of sense. A lot of the shit that they're trying out, and they don't know a lot of things at the point in time, and so he basically, they're still learning, right? So he basically he says that that's why is because the shit that he was doing, but we don't know what kind of mad scientist type shit he's doing, Jay. Like he just alludes to like he was doing some shit here, right? So he compares, and this is where he compares Jamie killing people in his time and people that he saved basically to himself. Like he tries to align himself within this moment by saying like, well, I did this stuff to help people, and how many people have you killed it in your doing what you do, right? And he kind of says, yeah, well, I've helped this many people. This is the amount of people that live in King's Landing. Like I've saved that many people with what I've done, right? So he's trying to kind of like, I guess, compare himself.
Compare it.
Yeah.
But it sounded like really they were studying like a doctor. It was really is what it sounded like to me. It didn't sound like he was doing any, but it might have been crazy barbaric stuff because it was back then, right? Obviously, right?
Right.
And
Well,
they
yeah,
wanted to
like
see what
they
happened.
didn't like. I mean, aside from the sisters, what do they call this? Those people that prepare bodies for funerals, like um this the sisters. I don't know. Anyways, whatever. Like, yeah, like I think to perform autopsies was like barbaric, but it's not now because that's how we figure out like what happened or how the body works.
Right.
But back in the day, like they didn't understand like
Not only
Yeah,
that, I don't
toss
think
for a toss. It's weird, eh?
well, they don't even really know the purpose of what they're doing a lot of the
No.
time because they need to learn this stuff, right? So I think like to the outside looking in, they might thought what he was doing was fucked up, right? So I hear you. I hear you. Yeah, I agree with you, Jay, in the sense that like saying how much better he looks like his wounds cared for by him than it is by someone else. And if he didn't do that shit, he wouldn't know how to treat his hand. That's what I mean. Like he knew exactly what he was doing. Okay, well, if
Keep
we're
the worms away and the
like
bacteria and all that
cauterize
shit.
it, like this guy knew as soon as he came in and seen Jamie, he was just like, yeah, that hand's done for. But these are our options now. Like right. So
yeah.
And he kept checking it the whole way, like on that ride too. So you knew that he knew something about it.
but I mean, Bolton, I think, is the one who called him out by saying, basically, like this guy's trying to vie for a job with you. Like basically, like he's trying to be like, yeah, he's caring for you in this way, so you can actually like do something for him if you go to King's Landing, right? Like that's
Yeah.
Bolton called that out right away, right? So, but then he mentions in passing that basically
Well, they're gonna
Oh,
use Brienne for the night.
Brienne's
Then they're not gonna
father
basically make them.
offered them
Oh yeah, they
300
the
gold
Raven.
dragons for her safe return,
yeah,
and but Locke,
yeah.
he was like, no, like that. I mean, because Jamie was like, yeah, that sounds like a great deal. Like, I think that's fair. Like, I think that's a lot of money. I think that's great. But, Locke was, obviously told the story of the sapphires.
That came back to bite him in the fucking ass here
It
because
did.
he is the one that told him that story, right? That's awesome. Yeah,
Yeah.
go on. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, no, so I think you can see the look on Jamie's face. It's like, "Oh, like,
What an
damn," you
idiot.
know?
Yeah.
Damn, and so I think, I in that moment is when he realizes, okay, I think attached with the last words that Locke said to him as he's leaving Harrenhal, like, "Oh, don't worry, we'll take good care of her." I think it plays on his guilt, and he goes to the leader of the pack there and says, we need to go back. I forgot something.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we have to return to
And
Hall. Yeah.
yeah.
Because, yeah.
And I even like, when Jamie he's down and out, the guy's like, no, like I'm not taking you back. And he's like,
It's
what do you
another
think my
2-day
father's gonna
trip back.
ask? Like when he sees my hand, I can either tell him you did it or I can say that you saved my life. And so he's like, all right, let's go back.
So this is something I'm noticing upon this rewatch that him and Tyrion have a lot of the same like actual moves, like
Attributes.
very,
Attributes.
very
They're
so
brothers.
yeah, well, that they're very slick in the way they kind of talk to people and charm people and get people to warm up to them and kind of talk their way out of things. And then when all else fails, they'll throw money at the situation. Like it seems like he's been doing like what I mean. He's been doing the same type of shit because he's down and out now without the head that
Yeah,
like
without the hand.
would have. We all saw how Tyrion how he got back home, right? He did it all on his fucking own, along with Bronzelf too. But like
Yeah.
that was all through his quick thinking, right, in situations, right? So that's awesome. I liked how he
They both using things to their advantage. You can see they both think the same. Their mental train, like their thought. You can tell they're brothers. Yeah, like you said. right, Christina? So
Yeah.
But then the guy says, I can't. I served Lord Bolton. I will tell him. Basically what you said about him. I'll tell him this, or else I'll tell
it's
him
my
that.
favorite
And
guest appearance.
and he rushes in to find them singing the song of the title of this episode when they finally get back to Harrenhal, and they see Brienne in a hole with the bear essentially, and they're all kind of like gladiator style, like
It's hard
sitting
to see.
down for entertainment, kind of viewing her fighting the bear with a wooden fucking sword that they gave her of all things, which is not even fair. like she doesn't even have a real sword. They gave her a wooden fucking sword, and
But it's like, that it was just like, you with a wooden sword, and he's like, we only got one bear. Like, it's just kind of like, really, like, you value the bear's life over hers? Like, that's crazy. Like,
I mean, there's so
she's
many.
a tall girl, right?
No,
You think she was a pretty big girl? Like, I mean, she was
it.
very. But look at the size difference here.
Yeah.
That's not fair.
No, of course not. It's a bear.
But Bart's okay, man. He's all right. He won't hurt her.
Bart the second.
But the thing too that was triggering before that made him go back, like you said, like was like he said like past that evening, like he was just going to be their entertainment, and like basically that she was never going to make it back home, right? Like that was that stupid sapphire thing that he believed. He thought he was being cheated. Yeah, that's fucking crazy.
Imagine that. I'd probably be shitting my pants even if it was an actor bear.
So then he tells Jamie off and refuses his offer. He makes him an offer, buddy there. I forgot his name again.
Locke.
Yeah, he offers him gold.
She's supposed to get fucking mauled by the bear here, and he swipes at her or something, and then Jamie jumps in and basically scares the bear off somehow, and he gets her hoisted out, and he climbs up out with her afterwards. But it was one of these tense scenes where it didn't look like Jamie was going to make it out of the hole there for a second.
No, he's got one arm.
But what a heroic effort on his part that he jumped in and did this in this moment. Like, because like everyone else is just sitting around cheering. And
love.
Yeah. I mean, it's and again, this is why the character turned around for me. This is one of those moments that made me like the guy.
He's right here, man. He's hiding on for dear life, man. After he got her out of there.
Yeah.
Well, I'm starting to get a little attached to him too, man. I don't know. He seems to be not so bad. I don't know yet, but we'll see what happens. If he's like his brother a little bit, it's not so bad in a certain way.
His character arc on the show for however long he's in it, Jay.
For however long he's in it, okay.
Is up to a certain point my favorite character arc of the whole series, honestly, is his journey.
Because he's gotten softer too, and he's got like he kind of reminds me of like you said, like of Tyrion, but I feel like now that he's lost his hand, he's gotten a little bit more softer in that sense.
He's been humble.
Well, since he's been with Brienne, I think he's been really humble. I noticed.
Right.
Yeah, it's a little different, right?
So then they come out of the hole. Locke says the bitch stays, talking about Brienne, and he said, "Kill me or else I'm taking her to King's Landing with me. She's coming with me." And basically, as a result of all this, and because of the man tasked with bringing him to King's Landing, feeling he is now responsible for what has occurred in this situation, it's basically their men against Locke's men in this scene. Almost like everyone starts like drawing swords, and they're almost about to fight over this shit. And this is just when Locke is just like, "Okay, fuck it, yeah, take her, or whatever." And then as he walks away, he's like, "Yeah, sorry about the sapphires."
yeah. Enjoy the sapphires or something like that.
This show episode ends with the growl of the bear, and then cut to the credits, right? So yeah, really great end to this episode. Honestly, like it really kind of scared me, even knowing like that he was going to escape this situation. I didn't recall any of this bear stuff, really, even with the title of the episode and everything else. So like for me rewatching it, it was a lot of fun, this one, like especially for that last scene and seeing that.
What did you think about it, Jay?
They have huge wolves and dragons, but then they have regular sized bears.
That was a big bear. What are you talking about? So not believable for you?
No, it is. But I'm just saying, like it seemed. Yeah, no, I just wanted to throw that in because the bear was just a regular sized bear. Yeah,
that was a real bear.
No, I know it was a real bear. That's what I'm saying. That's the regular size of a bear, but the fucking wolves were huge, bigger than that bear. If the wolf
Yeah.
stood up on his back legs, he'd be bigger than that.
That's true.
Even
That's true.
even the ogres that they have, man, are bigger than the bear. Like really,
You know,
they
the
just didn't.
bear,
The balance difference was kind of weird. This was
that
like a
bear
pet
had
dog.
to audition for this role. He was one of 6.
What?
Yeah.
How do you have to audition a bear? And how the
Yeah.
fuck do you
They
manage
looked at
that?
6 actor bears, like
Come on.
Winnie the Pooh not included. They looked at like 6 actor bears, and he was the one that was picked. His name is Bart the
Yeah,
second.
That's awesome. I didn't know that. But
Yeah,
I also,
and they filmed.
I wouldn't bother filming, bringing 6 bears in for the risk involved. I would just be like, I know they're trained, but like, especially
They're
actor.
they filmed half of that scene in Northern Ireland,
Okay,
and then they filmed all the close-up scenes with the bear in California where Bart lives.
that's awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah.
They really went. They
I
really
think Bart has like a YouTube page too.
probably.
Doesn't say much for us, eh, bro?
Hey, listen, he's probably got way more views than we do. Well, it's fair.
He's dead.
Not
then,
after
Bart.
my episode.
Oh
Excuse
no,
me.
no, not in your episodes. We're talking about the ones me and Jake.
Yeah, Bart. Don't be too mean. Bart died a couple years ago.
Oh, that's too bad.
No.
R.I.P.
Oh my god, like, well, duh. Like, I'm thinking, like, oh, the episode just aired. Ha 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 ha. No, it's like 10 years old.
Yeah, it's 21 years
Aw.
old. The bear. Yeah, it was 21
R.I.P.
years old.
Bear.
Always be immortalized in this episode. I mean, his name's basically in the title of it, the bear, the Maiden
Yeah.
bear. Which, like I said, they're singing the song here when they show up. So R.I.P. Bart, 21 years old. That's pretty good for a bear, no?
Yeah. Well, I don't know. How long do they usually live for?
The wild, not that long. Wild for sure, not that long.
Yeah, not in the wild, not that long. Yeah, exactly. I think they're shrinking by the day.
He's a
Like they're
brown
getting
bear?
skinnier.
He's a brown bear. This
Yeah.
one, right? Yeah. So
Yeah.
those are the small. Aren't those the
He had a
small?
mansion in California, bro.
Black bears are smaller.
I think black bears are smaller.
Black bears are
Yeah.
smaller.
That we get up here, unless you go further north. But no, I'm just saying that he had a mansion in Hollywood. He was good, bro. 21 years of that.
There you go.
Bart the bear.
Well, there you have it, guys. Bart the bear. That's that's the perfect spot to leave it on. Christina, any other final thoughts about this one? Any other fun facts? Anything else you want to leave us with here?
No, I'm all out of facts.
Yeah, are you still enjoying yourself on these episodes?
Of course.
We didn't drive you too crazy.
No, this was good.
JT's crude comments haven't scared you off.
No, I'm actually, this was a really sexy, like,
She can bounce
lovey-dovey
back
episode.
enough, so it's good.
I
She knows how to bounce them back and forth.
I know. I'm teasing her.
I've been around, okay? Like, I know you guys. I've been around long enough. I know. I
Shit,
know what to
man. She can
expect.
talk her own shit. Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
Absolutely. That's why she's good to have on these episodes. She reins you in for me because I sometimes I'm like to Jay, I'm just like I just ignore him at a speed.
Nico just shakes his head and it's like, come on, let's just get through this episode, man.
No, this is a blast. I can't wait to come back.
Absolutely. So, all right,
Alright.
guys. So, stay tuned. Christina will be on with us for the remainder of season 3. And then moving forward, who knows? But you'll see her once again on the next episode. So, make sure to tune in for the next one. That'll be episode 8, Second Sons is the name of the episode. That's season 3, episode 8, Second Sons of Game of Thrones. Make sure you're subscribed. Make sure you hit that like button, all that good stuff, guys. And we'll see you next time. Christina, thank you again for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you.
Absolutely, anytime.